Hello and welcome to episode 32 of Essex by the Sea. I'm Owen Ward, exploring the Essex coast, finding out about the amazing and interesting stories it has to offer. This episode will be slightly different as I bring you a collection of archive recordings that have yet to make it into a podcast, including letting you come behind the scenes to hear some of the audio that actually ended up in the outtakes folder. More of that later. But first, the Essex coast is home to what's been described as the most perilous byway in England. The bridleway and footpath I'm talking about is the Broomway. Running for 6 miles along Maplin Sands, the pathway is only accessible at low tide and until 1922 was the only access to Foulness Island. Ray Clark has been brave enough to don some welly boots and take a journey with a guide along the Broomway.
We're going to a place called Asplin's Head, which is about halfway down the Broomway, known to be the most notorious path in the UK. We're going to take a steady walk. We'll be a couple of 100 yards off the shore, out on the beach, and we'll stop a few times, and I'll tell you the history of why the Broomway is so important to Foulness.
I'm looking forward to it. Lead on.
Okay, follow me.
My name's Carolyn Mitchell.
Carolyn, do you realise you're walking in the middle of the River Thames?
Yes, well I do, but it doesn't feel like the River Thames at the moment. It feels like we're paddling through water, about ankle deep at the moment.
Is it like you expected it to be, walking from Great Wakering to Foulness, but avoiding the road and land?
Yeah, it's a peculiar sensation. It's quite desolate, and yet you can still see the land in the distance. So yeah, it's quite unique, I think.
How did you hear about the Broomway walk?
I've been wanting to do it for a long time. I'm trying to walk all of the coast of Essex, and I know there are no footpaths along this part. I think it's beautiful. It's lovely. It's just such an unusual feeling to be able to walk where usually there's such a lot to see.
So. We're at Asplin's Head. This is 3 miles from Wakering Stairs. We find this a nice comfy walk along the Broomway, the ancient Broomway that's been here for goodness knows how long, probably since the islands were developed with the Ice Age many years ago. And it was a means of getting to this island, the biggest one in Essex, with all everything come down on the Broomway as we know it. So marked because it was marked with the shrub broom every 30 paces, so that people didn't get lost, and in bad conditions they could follow one broom to the other one and eventually get to the headland that they were making for.
You do regular walks along the Broomway. How many times have you been over here and done that walk?
We don't really keep a check. I think it was 11 times last year, and obviously conditions have to be right, which is what makes this place so dangerous. If you get the elements wrong, the tide and the weather, you can get in all sorts of trouble. Bearing in mind that the weather and the tide are only predictions, but you can be fairly accurate by watching it for a week before, and then you understand where the wind's going and what it's doing, and then decide at the last minute, yes, we will walk.
You get it wrong, and I've heard it called the most dangerous walkway in the country. Is that an exaggeration?
That's what I'm told. Again, if you don't understand the elements, then yes, it would be very dangerous. There's people lost their lives out here. Lots of people have been found washed up under the seawall, although more likely guys that have fallen off the ships or trying to get ashore.
And if you don't drown, you could get blown up.
Yes, there's always that risk. Yes, the ministry have been very busy the last couple of weeks. Thankfully, it's coming up to Easter. They've eased off a bit now. But, yeah.
So we're walking for shore, Brian, and we've got about an hour and a half to go.
Yes. Yeah.
We've just got water around our boots now, covering our feet.
We have indeed.
But full tide, a high tide in anger, how much depth of water would there be here?
I think think the maximum will be about 3 metres, but generally 2 metres. It just again depends on the moon and the sun talking to each other, if you like, the magnetic poles, and which give us our high tides and our low tides, our spring tides, and the neap tides which we have today.
2 to 3 metres. How tall are you?
2.
Well, I'm shorter, so let's go.
Ray Clark reporting there from Maplin Sands. You're listening to a special episode of Essex by the Sea. Don't forget, if you've got a smart speaker, you can tell it to play Essex by the Sea podcast, and you can follow Essex by the Sea on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Thanks very much for your kind comments about the episodes. Here's just a few of the comments that you've left. The first one: I've just listened and now subscribed to Essex by the Sea and really enjoy it. Looking forward to the next instalment. When you've exhausted the Essex coast, perhaps you can head west and cover Sussex. Maybe, you never know. There's Kent and Suffolk to do as well, perhaps. Wow, what a super podcast. Very impressed with the questioning and flow of the interviews. Can't wait for the next one now. Thanks very much to the person who submitted that. And finally, seriously impressed with this fantastic new podcast about my favourite county and its stunning coastline. Thank you very much. If you've left a comment, if you get your podcasts on Google Podcasts or iTunes or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, just leave a message, subscribe, put a review. We'd love to hear what you think of the episodes. Now, there's lots of audio that doesn't make it into a podcast. In fact, the longest recording session so far has been over an hour for one 15-minute episode. But in episode 20, I visited the Naze Tower. And there was one exhibit that sadly didn't make the final edit. So here's Michelle from the Naze Tower describing what we were looking at inside.
People actually loan pieces to us, and we've actually only created this collection from people actually donating things to the museum. So we've got lots of military finds here. We've got bits of aeroplane, bits of bombs. We've got lots of bullets from the Second World War, and we've even got things going back a lot further in history, all the way, like we've got Stone Age axe head here. Also, lots of the flints, which they're found a lot. The Naze was occupied. In actual fact, it was used a lot back in those days. People lived on the coastline, so Bolton was populated back then as well.
There's lots of flints in that case, and if we turn around to the other side of the gallery here, in this case, a lot more natural looking things.
Okay, yeah, so in this one we've got all the fossils which you can find, which are coming out of the cliffs here at Walton. Our cliffs here at Walton are actually a site of special scientific interest, and it's to do with the fossils. They actually dated the last ice age in Europe from the Red Crag, which is in the cliffs here at Walton, so that's why it's a special geology site. And all of these shells are from that Red Crag, and that's why they've got that very orangey, reddy colour to them and very white. It's because they've sat in the cliffs until someone's come along and found them on the beach. The other very special fossil which you find at the Naze, which everyone wants to find one, is the shark's teeth, including a megalodon tooth there. So if you're lucky, you might find one.
Now, you normally hear the polished final edit of the podcast, but sometimes there are parts where I take just a few attempts to get it right. I know you don't believe that, but it's true.
Let's hit record. 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome. Oh, that's really loud. I can hear that's loud. Yes. So make sure you subscribe. Too many S's. So make sure you subscribe. So make sure you subscribe in the same place as you found this episode. Sometimes when out on location, there's noises in the background that and things making a lot of a racket that want to come up close when we're recording. Like this World War II fighter plane overhead in Brightlingsea. And I guess actually, I mean, it's a shame really, because a lot of the work people aren't going to see once the boat's in the water. A lot of that will be either under the water or it's inside enclosed that you don't get to see. The only bit that you're really going to see is that top part of it.
Yeah, the deck's all going to be new as well. It'll look really lovely, and that'll be a fast boat, hopefully.
And a slow-moving digger in Leigh-on-Sea.
I was doing one episode at the University of Essex a few weeks ago. and some security alarm went off. It went on for ages. And we had to stop for a police car that went past whilst recording in Southchurch as well.
It's got so much potential to have a.
That's right. Do you want me to ask the question again?
Yeah, go on.
I'll wait till the sirens have gone past. Thankfully, though, these sorts of things don't happen too often when recording Essex by the Sea, and it makes recording the podcast a real joy. So thank you for subscribing and listening to the podcast, and thank you to everyone who's featured in them so far. I'll finish this special episode with the Silver Darling Sea Shanty Crew. They've got an album out now, so go and check that out. Here they are, though, performing Haul Away Joe.
I used to have a Kentish boy, but he was fat and lazy.
Away, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe.
But now I got an Essex boy, he damn near drove me crazy.
Away, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Away, ho! Haul away, we'll haul away together. Away, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Away, ho! Haul away, we're bound for better weather. Away, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe.
King Louis was the King of France before the Revolution.
Away, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe.
But then he got his head chopped off, it spoiled his constitution.
Away, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Away, ho! Haul away, we'll haul away together. Away, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Away, ho! Haul away, we're bound for better weather. Away,